Hello people, welcome to lesson number 1. So, kinetic energy. There's the equation. So kinetic energy measured in joules. We have mass, which is always measured in kilograms, and if it's not, you'll need to convert it. And we have velocity, or velocity squared actually, which people often forget. And this is measured in meters per second. So let's have a go at example number 1. So kinetic energy equals, I'll just rub that one out. There we go. Kinetic energy equals a half times mass times velocity squared. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is write my equation and put those numbers into it. So it's a half times 1,000 times 50 squared. Okay, then I put it in my calculator. So a half times 1,000 times 50 squared equals, waiting, 125,000 joules, because it's energy. Okay, example number 2. So in this example, we're calculating the mass of Mr. Williams' Mini if it has a kinetic energy of 116,000 while travelling at 20 meters per second. So I've written out my equation. I'm then going to write underneath where those numbers are going to go. Okay, so kinetic energy is 116,000. So here we go. 116,000 equals 0.5 times mass, which they haven't given because that's what we're working out, so I'm going to leave it as m, times the velocity, and not forgetting to square it, so 20 squared. Okay, so the next step is going to be to simplify it. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 20 squared. So it's going to be 116,000 equals mass times 200. Okay, then I need to make mass the subject. So what I'm going to do is divide both sides by 200 so that cancels out and I'm left with mass on its own on the right hand side. And then I'm going to calculate that. So 116,000 divided by 200 equals, typing in my calculator, nearly there, and 116,000 divided by 200 is 580 kilograms because I've worked out mass. Okay, on to example number 3. Now this is the more tricky of the 3 examples because we're working out velocity, and in this equation velocity is squared, so I'm going to have to square root it at the end, and that's often the bit that people forget to do. So I've written out my equation. I'm then going to start working out what they've given me. So they've given me mass and they've given me kinetic energy. So I'm going to write that out underneath the standard equation. So 6,600 equals 0.5 times 1,870, which is the mass of a Land Rover Defender, times by v squared. Okay, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify that, so that I've just got one thing multiplied by v squared. Okay, so I'm going to write it out. So 6,600 equals, and remember this is the 0.5 times 1,870, which has given me 935, and then that is times by v squared. Now again, I need to make v squared the subject here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 935, so that cancels out. Okay, there we go, cancelled out. And then v squared equals 6,600 divided by 935, which equals, type it in my calculator, beep, 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 beep. Nearly there. Okay, so that equals 7 7.06, and I've rounded that up slightly. Okay, but remember, I need to find V, so I'm going to square root that 7.06, and that's going to give me, types in the calculator, 2.66, and then not forgetting its velocity, so it's meters per second. Thank you for listening.